Sometimes the best workout for muscle and strength are heavy singles and doubles. Okay, so what does that look like? Literally pick a weight that's probably moderately heavy, not your max, and do a set of 1 rep. Rest for 2 to 3 minutes, and then repeat that. Try to keep it high volume, but few exercises. In other words, 3 or 4 exercises, 5 to 8 sets each. You know, I like to communicate that because a lot of people have no idea. They think that's just a pure powerlifting workout.
Yeah.
But if you don't train that way, do like a 4-week cycle of that. Watch the gains explode.
Did you know that I never did that until we all got together?
Yeah. I remember what it did to your back.
Never. Like, never did I drop below 5 reps ever. And even that was very infrequent. So like that was really just to interrupt my other phases of training and then to go back to more hypertrophy and supersetting. Like I never did singles, doubles, or triples until we all got together because I was never that strength focused.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind what a difference it made in my physique.
This was literally my favorite thing to do with my female clients because it was just so drastically different than anything most of them have ever done before. And it was like, to see the progress and the strength gains, you know, from when we would start doing that versus like all the high rep and high volume stuff, it was like a dramatic difference.
Yeah, you know what the challenge is? It's that it feels so different from traditional workouts. In other words, you do this, you know, 6 sets of 2 reps on the bench press. And you don't max out. So you're not maxing out 2 reps, but it's a heavy, you know, challenging 2 reps. You don't get a pump. Yeah. It doesn't burn. You don't sweat.
Completely different experience.
Yeah, so you're like, is this really doing anything? Like, what am I doing? I didn't do this I didn't practice the style of training until I read Dinosaur Training, I think it's called, which is an old school strength book. And the guy in there advocated so much for doing this. And I had done 5 and 6 reps, but never sets of like 1 or 2. And I started doing this and my strength exploded. And I got some incredible gains from doing it because it was so different and so novel.
You're not maxing out, but you are now moving a weight that's heavier than you probably ever really moved if you didn't do singles, doubles, and triples before.
Yes.
Because if I did a weight that I could move 5 to 6 times, it was never as heavy as what I would be working with for singles, doubles, and triples.
Yep.
So even though it wasn't technically my max, it was much higher than a weight that I would choose to do 3 to 4 sets at 5 reps plus. So for me, it was such a shock to my system. This also, I attribute this to to Justin's point. I think this is what shaped Katrina's body the most since we were together because she had never trained that way.
Yep.
And I remember getting her really excited about like getting strong in the deadlift. And I think she got all the way up to like 275, which is pretty legit, for someone who didn't deadlift ever and has always been
especially she's not heavy, she's small.
So she got up that, and I swear the amount of muscle that she put, especially on her butt and her glutes, was the biggest leap in our relationship that I ever saw her make. I attribute it to that.
Yeah,
for sure.
And another key to this is, your traditional strength training workouts typically will consist of like 2 or 3 exercises per body part. You're hitting different angles. With something like this, you do less exercises, but more sets. That's the best way to do this. So if I'm doing chest, for example, rather than doing, bench press, incline press, flies, I'm doing like 7 sets of just bench press. And I'm doing like 1 or 2 reps with like 2-3 minute rest in between. So it's different.
You just feel so strong doing this because you're fully recovered and those like rest periods are a little bit more extended. And so I know this is like a mental challenge for a lot of people too that want to shift into this style of training because it just feels like I should be doing something in between. Yes. But really what you need to think more is like, well, I guess I could have probably loaded it a bit more. Like it's so much more of a mental game to be able to generate that much more force in that shorter period of time. So it's not like, fatigue is pretty much not part of this. This is all about generating force.
Yeah. So to give an example of the kind of weight that you would use in relation to what your actual max is, I don't know what my max is, but I'm going to estimate because today I did box squats and I went up to about 405. I think I probably could have gone up to 435 or something like that, 440 for a max, but I stayed at 405. And that's what I did for 1. Okay. With the bench press, I think today I went up to 295. My max is probably around 315, 320. So just give you an example, you're not going to your max, you're actually going 20, 30, 40 pounds lower than that. Or if you're not quite as strong, maybe 10 pounds, lighter. And really it's heavy and challenging, but you want to really feel the connection. You want to feel the force. And what's interesting about this is, let's say you do, and I'm just letting people know what this feels like because you'll experience this. When you do, let's say, 6 sets of a squat, as you work up to the weight you're going to do a single for, the second or third or fourth time you do the single with that weight, you actually feel stronger, which is kind of weird. So like I did, a rep with 295, I feel real heavy. Then I knew the second one, I'd actually feel stronger. This is your CNS adapting and your skill with the lift improving within the workout. And that is really, really good for muscle definition and of course, strength.
So I always liked like a protocol of where I would choose a weight that I would be doing like 3, and then as I kept going in the sets, I would drop to 2 and then drop down a weight to get a feel of like where my like not quite maxes, but getting as close as I could. So I put on a weight. So if I'm deadlifting, I put a weight on there. Like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can get this, at least 2 or 3 times. And then if I could get it 3, I'd get it 3, add a little bit more weight, see if I could still get 3, maybe only get 2. Then I add a little bit more weight. And then now I've got my single weight and I do singles for another 2 or 3 sets. Like that, training that way for a training block, so for a phase, and then going back.
Oh yeah.
To like 5x5 or like hypertrophy.
8 to 12. Yeah.
Oh, that's where that's where you really notice it. One, like if you're really pushing strength levels in that block and trying to get stronger, and then you go back to kind of how you probably traditionally train, boy, do you really see
It's
the
like your
carryover.
amplitude increased.
Yeah.
Right. Like the ability to produce more force is just, you've stretched that out now because you've trained it to do that. And now it's like you have more access to more muscle fibers you didn't before, which is a fun feeling.
But again, I want to hammer this point because someone might go try this and might be like, I feel like I'm wasting my time. I'm not getting a pump. I'm not sweating. There's no burn. You're not supposed to feel any of that. It's a very different feeling.
Yeah.
What it feels like is you're practicing maximizing your force and you're practicing the skill of the lift. That's what it should feel like. So it should feel like you're getting more in the groove, you're getting tighter, you're generating more force. So it's a different feel. But if you don't train this way, you will see very rapid gains in strength and then muscle. The muscle follows the strength. So first you'll see the strength go up a little bit, and then you'll start to look in the mirror and be like, The other thing too, and this is anecdote, so I have 0 studies to support this, but bodybuilders and strength athletes have speculated on this for a long time. Training this way creates a very dense, hard look to the muscle. It's like that, Pavel, the kettlebell guy. He talks about this a little bit, where the muscle looks really dense and hard. So it's a bit of a different feel and a different look. I know Arnold used to do this in his early days of training because he would say the same thing. It would give him a denser look to his physique. So it's really interesting. It's a lot of fun. And if you don't do this, do it for like 4 weeks. Watch what happens.
I think part of the reason why people don't do it is maybe they try it and then they experience what you're saying, where they doesn't feel it. I don't get this pump. I don't get a sweat. And then I think the other thing, which is probably why I avoided it for so long, is I just didn't identify as a power lifter. I was so focused on aesthetics and how my body looked that I thought, like, why? I don't care. I don't really care if I could lift 10 or 15 more pounds. Like, all I care about is how I look. So why would I train that way? And I was really missing out on all the benefits of, like, the point I was making, that, even if you just run it for a block or a phase of 3 to 4 weeks of training that way and then return back to the training that you kind of love to do, I saw huge carryover into that and didn't realize how much I was missing by not training that way, simply because I didn't identify as a power lifter. So I think a lot of people, they see, like, who lifts singles and doubles and triples. It's always the
you
power.
never see that in the gym.
Yeah, you don't see the petite little girl doing that. You don't see the CrossFitter guy doing that. You don't see these typical athletes training that way. It's the power lifter. And so you go, oh, I'm not really a power lifter. I don't want to look that way, or I'm not interested in that. So you avoid it, but it has tremendous value.
Oh, huge value, huge physique value. And it was one of my secret weapons. I think you said this, Justin, with your female clients. It was a secret weapon because nobody ever trains that way. I tell you what, you add 15 to 50 pounds on a compound lift, you're going to look different. Okay. It doesn't just happen. You're going to look different and you're going to have some muscle. There's a direct relationship. Now you can get stuck here and stay in here all the time, in which case now
addictive.
You're straight powerlifting.
Yeah.
But if you do it, I suggest people try it for 4, 5, 6 weeks, see what happens, go back to the other way of training, and you hit the nail on the head, Adam. You go back to hypertrophy training and it's like, boom, oh my gosh, what's happening?
I noticed, like, and I don't know if this is like the CNS benefit that I got from it, but the control of weight.
Yeah.
When I went to other, like, it reminded me of, I've told this story before. I think you guys have shared similar stories of when I was really young and lifting. I was lifting with these older guys that were like these big buff, like power lifter, bodybuilder type dudes, and they love to go super heavy. And I remember like the first time that they made me squat, like, and for me back then, like 2 plates was unheard of. Like I could barely squat a plate back this far back, right? And I remember them sticking 2 plates on my back. I'm like, I can barely do 1 plate. There's no way. Like I can't. He's like, I just want you to feel the weight.
Yeah.
And just getting onto there. And he would make me unrack it and then just stand there and just let my body adapt to. Now the verbiage that he used back then, I don't think he was communicating it the same way we would probably today when you talk about what your central nervous system is having to do to adapt and figure that out. But I think there's something there that when you go and you lift close to your max load like that and you get good at generating all that force like Justin loves to talk about, you then go back to this 5 or 10 or 15 rep, and I just had this different control of the weight. It now seems so easy to control this 5 or 8 rep set, where maybe before I would feel myself a little unstable at first and kind of adapting to get used to it, where I've trained in a block where I'm lifting singles, doubles, and triples. I'm lifting significantly more weight than what I'm now doing when I'm doing 8 reps, so that just the control of the weight seems so easy.
Look, it's there's more than this, but to simplify, there's 2 things that are lifting the weight. There's your muscles, and then there's the command center, the central nervous system, that's telling your muscles what to do. The central nervous system can fire harder. It can fire more efficiently. It could make your muscles perform better, and your muscles can get bigger, and that'll also make them perform better. They're all connected. So if you want to see what an extreme on one end looks like, you look at an Olympic lifter. You have a 185-pound, male Olympic champion who's lifting weights that a 280-pound bodybuilder could only dream of lifting. How is that possible when he's 185 pounds? His central nervous system fires with incredible power, effectiveness, and efficiency. And then on the flip side, on the other extreme, you have a bodybuilder who learns how to maximize the muscle, so the muscles are big. Now, is there value in both? You better believe it. If you can do both and train both very well, you'll develop this very balanced, strong, incredible physique that will last you your whole life, not just focusing on one or the other.